Language is central to human culture.
Our ability to communicate with each other, our ability to organize our thoughts is really at the heart of what makes us human.
What would we be without language? What would science be without language? How would we be able to communicate without language?
I mean, maybe there the most astonishing thing to sort of bear in mind is we're the only species, as far as we know, that has such dramatic diversity in its communication systems. Our languages differ across all of the levels of structure that make up a language, from the sound to the words, to the way the words are strung together. And that's really quite extraordinary.
This institute here in Nijmegen works on language and communication as an important topic for scientific research.
We are specifically interested in the way in which language is encoded in the mind and the brain.
We're trying to understand something about the biology and the psychology of how language works. And we ask questions about where did language come from in the first place? How does it work? How does the brain actually enable us to be beings that can make use of language? The amazing thing about being at the Max Planck Institute is that we're able to study all these different levels all the way from molecule to mind, and this is a unique place in the world to be able to do that, which is very, very exciting.
Language use is tremendously important for all parts of our life, really. That's why we are very interested in finding out what makes language speaking and listening easy for people in some situations and harder in other situations.
The question of learning of languages is very interesting. How does a child growing up in a particular environment learn, that particular language?
They seem to soak up complicated linguistic skills from their environment around them, and it's a big mystery as to how this occurs. So by the time a child is only a few years of age, they can express their feelings to other people. They can ask complicated questions about where they come from, what they're doing, and this is a very important part of how we grow up and how we learn to live with each other.
The Department on the Neurobiology of Language is mainly interested in how this complex system is implemented in the human brain. So we clearly see that the human brain has a special capacity for language, which children acquire early on in their life without formal instruction. So there is a certain language readiness of the human brain, and that we need to understand. We need to understand what infrastructure the human brain has such that it allows us to have this particular capacity.
So trying to understand that flexibility or pliability in the language capacity is one of the things that really we're focused on. And in order to get at that, we have field sites around the world where we explore, if you like, the sort of outliers, the languages that are most strange, most unexpected. And then we ask, what are the implications of that diversity for the nature of our language capacity?
We look at the psychological processes that happen when people speak, when they produce language, and when they understand language in various kind of tasks. So for instance, we look at the processes that happen when people decide what to call a thing, whether you want to call it a bottle or just a big bottle, and what kind of decision processes happen when you do this.
So at the heart of what we do at the Language and Genetics Department is one question: how does your genome, how do your genes help you speak? So the way we do that is by studying the DNA of people who have problems with language, also people in the everyday world who have different levels of language ability. We study their DNA, we try to find the genes that are important for helping people to learn language. We want to understand how those genes work and how they help to build a brain that can do language. We take different versions of the genes we find and we put them into cells that we can grow in the lab, and we study how those genes affect the cells. This gives us an understanding of how genes help to build neural circuits that are capable of learning language.
In a way, it's shocking how little we really understand. It's not for lack of study. There's been a couple of thousand years of thought about language. But still, it's such a complex capacity. And so having, in this institute, the ability to approach it from many different perspectives, this is just, I think, the only place in the world where this kind of joint research can be undertaken. That's what I think makes Nijmegen special.
Language comes so easily to us that we take it for granted how important it is in our everyday lives. So every time you go to a shop and you talk to somebody, you buy something, or you sit in a coffee shop communicating with your friends, all that time, language is the thing, it's the glue that is sticking us together as a society.
Without language, we would not be able to share knowledge, we would not be able to accumulate knowledge, exchange information, and all this is crucial for all aspects of modern life. Therefore, it's essential for understanding where we are in modern society and in our culture. It's essential to really understand the basic capacity that underlies all this, and that's human language.